All right, welcome to the newest episode of All Things LOCS. Now, today we got a good one for you. We're talking everything cash-based medical practices. So, this is a big trend in healthcare we're seeing now. Obviously, we know the challenges that most private practices are facing with regards to insurance. Decreased reimbursements, more denials. So, essentially, you're running a business that's just getting paid less and less every year. And, unless you want to keep jamming in more and more new patients, which most of you don't, what's the solution? For a lot of healthcare owners, they're going to cash-based practice. Now, you do see a lot on social media where it's a boon, right? It's something that you just need to do to provide better care, prevent burnout. But at the end of the day, too, a lot of people also forget that you're still running a business, which necessitates you having the right systems, the right communication tactics with employees and patients. So today, what we're going to be doing is showing you what needs to happen in order to not just open a cash-based practice, but open up a cash-based practice that is built to thrive and sustain long term. We'll see you there. Let's do it.
So here we are just getting all the cameras and our microphone set up, and we're just like, you know what, hit record, because we're just in this good groove of what we're going to be talking about, which is like why people are going cash in healthcare. So give us a really quick background of like what you're seeing and what it means about going cash.
Yeah, well, you're talking about practices, because I know some people, might maybe think about their personal insurance. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about it a lot in healthcare now, where you're seeing people. Obviously, everybody across the board in the U.S. is pissed off with insurance companies, right? So it's whether you're a consumer of it, or you're the person accepting it. I don't think I've legitimately ever heard somebody saying, "Thank God for my insurance." But so now what we're seeing a lot, and especially practice owners, is all right. I'm tired of playing by their rules with the insurance company. Tired of having small windows of time to see a patient, and then for the amount of time I do spend with them, it's sometimes a crapshoot in terms of whether you're getting paid or not, right? So they're saying I'm busting my ass, and then there's a good chance I might not even get paid for it. So why not just scrap all that, go to a cash pay practice, and then I'm running the whole show. I can carve out how much time I want for the patients, how much I'm charging, and just deliver better patient care. And what I think a lot of people then leave out is, all right, there's still a lot that goes into that. It's not just a matter of I want to provide better care, but at the end of the day, you're still providing, you still have a business to run, right? So I think what we're talking about today is, there's a lot of good in opening it, especially having a cash pay. But what are some of the pitfalls or some of the things that you have to think about before you go into it, before you're like, oh crap, was this the right decision for me, or did I just make a colossal mistake? So we were talking about, I mean, we're gonna get into this plenty because we were just talking about revenue, and a little bit of marketing. But I do believe, for one thing that I feel, maybe we'll start off on this, is just understanding, yeah, we're talking about why people are quitting. There's the aspect of not enough time, so it's burnout. And you do see this a lot. It's interesting in healthcare, man. You see a lot of older clinicians who they've been in it for a long time. And they're saying, I had enough, which makes sense. But I'm also seeing a lot of younger people who just graduated within the last few years out of medical school. They're going that route. And it's very interesting dichotomy where it's almost like they're trying to prevent, at least for them, prevent burnout,
Mhm.
right? So they're saying, let me just get ahead of it. Let me build out a certain model that's going to help me last versus trying to dive into the insurance game and maybe get fried in 5 years.
So it's an interesting approach, because you have on one side you have the doctors that have been around for a long time, and it's typically not doctors that are like bouncing around from market to market, city to city. It's like usually they're in a particular community for quite some time,
Yeah.
and you have these doctors where like they get to work with a patient and then like their kids and then their spouse and then extended family, and then they build out that trust, and so it's a natural progression for things to be moving into word of mouth. We're like, oh yeah, I know a guy because he's established and he's there. And so when that doctor transitions into cash, that's different because they've already captured that community quite well.
Yeah.
Whereas the new person, there's pitfalls there.
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, I don't know, maybe it was about 4 or 6 weeks ago. Like, so check out the episode with Dr. Adrienne Townsend, because this was exactly what she talked about. She was in a community for about 20 years as part of, she was an employee, and then just same thing, got like burned out. I was just, all right, let me try it. Let me try something different where I can reclaim my time and provide better care. But yeah, to your point, all right, I'm just coming out of school. I don't have any established patients. I have no, not say credibility, but essentially I have no credibility. So, It's what do I actually have to do to start building that base up for people to trust me, especially if you're paying out of pocket versus I'll just use my insurance and pay $20 to come in and that's my copay, right? So there's a different mentality that goes into it. But I think when people are looking also as a way to maybe launch a career or in some of the older clinicians, save or resurrect or refresh their career, right? There's aspect of, all right, I'll have more time, but then I find, and yeah, I know, you have plenty of work with practices and businesses. One of the aspects too that I feel that they leave out is you have a certain salary that maybe you were making if you were already treating and in a practice, maybe it's yours, somebody else's. What does the financials look like if you go to cash pay? Is it the same, more? Is it less? Because you're seeing less patients, your volume's less. So that's some stuff that I feel that doesn't really get discussed enough.
Yeah, yeah. So um, that's very, very true. There's a couple things that I think this happens also in other industries as well.
100%. Yeah.
I'm gonna dive into kind of the ones that we were kind of talking
Yeah.
about because I feel like you could be a brilliant doctor, and then all of a sudden you are starting a cash practice, and then it's going to require you to be certain like other things, which
Yeah.
more specifically like being a marketer, like we'd help getting good on that, and that tends to fall flat. So what ends up happening, like if you think about if you get in a car crash, for example, oftentimes like whether you're with whatever insurance company, you pay a deductible, you pay whatever, and then they have preferred auto body shops. And then you're like, cool, I'll go to this one because otherwise I'm going to pay a little bit different if I go kind of out of network. Same thing with healthcare. So if something happens to you, you just look up what your plan is and then you go to these specific places. Now on the doctor side, that they know that whether it's Blue Cross or whatever it is, that like that's where their patient flow is coming from, is from being a preferred provider, as an example. So you see it in roofing, you see it in all kinds of other places too. And so when that gets pulled from you when you're going cash, then it's like, how do I replace that patient flow? How do I replace that deal flow or that customer flow? How do I replace
Yeah.
it? How do people, when they're in the market, figure out I am willing to help them out in whatever goods or service that is? And that's where you kind of have to put your marketing hat on. Is like, cool. What different strategies do I need to have to be in various channels? So when people click like knee replacement, or they click like shoulder pain, or they click like physical therapist, and they're typing these things in, how can I set myself up where I'm at the top? And I don't think that that's really that's more of an afterthought. It's just, ooh, cash,
Yeah.
and it's easier. Great, I'll go there. But that side of things tends to be overlooked completely until it's too late.
Yeah.
And you see a roofing industry, you see construction, you see auto body shops, all those get imploded because they switch away from insurance because of
Yeah.
the pros and cons of that, and then they're kind of left figuring out what happened.
They're struggling. Yeah. I mean, and you do have organizations where they're saying, hey, we take insurance and it's crap. We're getting paid nothing. So I will actually make more by being a cash practice, which is 100% possible. To your point, though, it's all right, but now the person who's coming in to see you, they're paying more. So aside from having to attract more people, yes, if you have that um, base, that population base that they know you, they're going to come and see you, great. But then how do you get them to come back? And then for the person, again, who has no uh, credibility or no authority yet, because maybe they're just fresh out of school, it's, again, why people are going to pay maybe, who knows, 100, 150, $200 to you when they don't really know you and you're new versus the person who's been around for 10 years and they could pay 15 or $20 for
Yeah.
their copay, right? So there is that aspect to a point, though. It's all right. How do we actually get people to come here? Because that is something they forget. It's like, oh yeah, I got to get marketing, and I gotta, this thing too is, and we spoke to, we were speaking to a chiropractor. I think this is one thing that goes overlooked too. We were speaking to a chiropractor a while back, it's a guy in Jersey, and he was staying with insurance, and then he was trying to incorporate a cash based product. I think it was PRP.
Mhm.
So he wanted to spend, it was, I think, a $1,500 injection, which is about right. But then his marketing was all screwed up. He's like his marketing is still geared towards the people that are coming in to pay $15-$20 copay, and then he's wondering why don't any of them want to spend like they don't want to spend $1,500. Like you're you got the wrong marketing here, man. Like, you're targeting the wrong people for the wrong product. So aside from 2 point, all right, what kind of marketing are you gonna be doing to
Well,
bring people in? It's, are you actually speaking to the right person?
yeah, yeah, and if you guys have like paper or pen, like this is where I would write some stuff down and then research it for yourself. Is like you want to have some fundamentals in place. So if you're new to the market, if you think for a second, think of like Craigslist. Remember that website?
Oh my god, I think
Yeah,
it's
like
still around, but
yeah,
yes.
if it's still around.
Some
So
of the
it
younger are like, "What's Craigslist?"
yeah, like so if you think about the most like the websites that are the most whack, you jump on and you're like, this looks so illegitimate. Like, ugh, that is such a turn off to people. But if you have like a well polished website, like that's a start. So, and when people jump onto your website, and we're not even talking about how they get onto the website. So think of it as like a billboard, but your billboard is going to be absolutely worthless if it's in the middle of the ocean. So think about that as having a billboard and it's polished, it looks good, and there's kind of three elements that you want to have in that. Is that you want to make sure that the whatever the aesthetic is that it's memorable, that people remember it, and then there's a call to action, and it's being seen by new people every single day, like all the time. If you can get those three things of like how can I drive people to it, it looks really good. It's memorable, but not only that it's memorable, that people actually want to opt in. Like, hey, can I schedule an appointment? I'd like to learn more. Give me a call. I'd love an estimate. That is the prism that you need to see. That anything that you're doing, whether it's on social media, whether it's on Google SEO, is that it's memorable, it works, and that you're driving people to it. Those are the most important things. Those are like kind of the fundamentals. And is that lens. But and then in terms of placement or platform, you have obviously like social media, you have like your website, Google, SEO management. Get those things dialed in. And especially with SEO, um, really consider like the like negative words too as well. One of the last things you want is you launch something and you're getting the wrong people in just because those negative search words or search terms are not embedded in your marketing strategy.
Yeah, and that's all solid then. One of the things too is, going in conjunction with the marketing and your current page population too. It's also, I see people who they wanna market the higher end stuff, which obviously makes sense, right? It's like, I'm gonna market the PRP, or see a lot of orthopedic practices now marketing for biologics, which is essentially like we're trying to heal people naturally without surgery. So it's an alternative to surgery, higher priced item. But again, are you using the right keywords? Are you targeting the right people?
Yeah.
It's, are they coming in for one thing and then you're trying to hit them with something else? So it's also understanding too is, when you're, like you said, you're looking at it, your SEO, and you're trying to create some marketing, even if it's just social media. It's all right. What are we actually showing people?
Yeah, and I think that's super super important for people to lock in on that, like for their own businesses. And I don't care if it's just healthcare, but if just all around. Simply because large language models are becoming the norm. More and more people are not Google searching anymore. They're going into ChatGPT, they're going into Gemini, they're going into Perplexity, they're going into Grok. And those large language models are scouring the internet to find the best contractor, the best podiatrist, physical therapist. And so if those things are not locked in with Google and everything else, then you're really not going to be showing up on some of these AI platforms when they're trying to Google a good
Yeah.
person in their market. Yeah.
And then to your point, it sounds so stupidly fundamental, but what does your website actually showcase? But
Yeah.
you click on a lot of websites and it's just, what the hell do you actually do? Is it 10 different things? One thing and I go on a lot of healthcare websites and I'm just like, what the hell are you doing here? Like, I'm confused. So if the person who's clicking a website doesn't know exactly what you're specializing, or what's bringing them in, they're just going to find the next person
Yeah.
to do it.
What
Right.
what what I would recommend if you're a practitioner of any kind really is if especially if they can do a multitude of different things, like their practice can be like, oh, they're doing these 15 different things. I would isolate down the top three or number one, where like if someone comes to see me for this, I'm going to give them world class care. They're going to be a raving fan. This is like my bread and butter. And if you really kind of dial into that and people experience that and they're like, oh my God, I love the experience. I love the outcome. I love everything else. It's easier for them to bring in more people, but you have that person that's had such an incredible experience, it's easy to start to not upsell them into other things, but you can bring in complementary services that can help with their, what do you call it? Not the medication, but um, their plan,
Plan of care.
yeah, plan of care.
Okay.
Yeah. So whatever their plan of care is, okay, well, we also do IV drip. We also do this. We also have a massage therapist in house. We have, like, now you have that thing. You can support it with a bunch of other stuff instead of maybe completely showcasing we do all these
Yeah,
different things.
that
Yeah.
has to make sense for sure. One of the things that we didn't actually really talk about this, but one of the things I would also add in here, because I was recently talking to somebody who has a cash pay practice, and they mentioned this. We talked about this like way back. I don't even know what episode. It was very very early with Kelly Stone about the appearance of your
Yeah.
show, right? And so you're having people now pay out of pocket. There's a perception change. What am I receiving? But also, what should this place look like? Is it the same office from 10 years ago when you were taking $20 copays, or is it maybe cleaned up and polished to represent, all right, this is what we're
Yeah.
actually trying to create now?
And Kelly Stone, first off, just amazing woman. She had a show here in Vegas on HGTV. She is a sought after, well known interior designer. She works with like uh, players in the NFL, for the Las Vegas Raiders, and so on and so forth. So she's absolutely incredible. And she was talking about how, like, perception is key when you're paying for
Yep.
something, anything, and you're in an environment where it feels icky or it feels gross or it feels below
It's
average.
even outdated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just simple stuff we feeling outdated, even though that the quality is there and it's on par and it justifies the dollar amount. The environment makes you feel like ugh,
Yeah.
right? And that's why if you look at kind of the restaurant industry or hospitality, again, us living here in Vegas, yeah, they may charge like an arm and a leg for certain things. You're like, you know what? This is an amazing restaurant with an amazing ambiance, great customer service. This steak I could probably get for half the price someplace else, but it feels good. But if you have that same super overpriced steak in the ghetto, you're gonna be like, I am not doing this.
Yeah.
I feel gypped. Right.
Yeah. So that does matter. And to your point too, if we're, you're paying, have somebody coming in paying a decent amount out of pocket, the goal too then is, all right, how do I get them, if it's necessary, how do I get them to come back? Right. And this is an area where there's more emphasis on the care, the systems, right? So if it's, this is why we look at this model, and it's a great model, but it's what are the fundamentals that need to be built in, so you're not losing people that you shouldn't lose either, right? So if it's all right, this person's willing to pay me, but I just made them wait on the phone for 10 minutes to make their first appointment, right? They're on hold forever, or the intake process was kind of clunky, or they couldn't get an appointment for a few weeks. Like those are things that are going to frustrate people, or your communication with them is a pain in the ass. So when we're looking at even how do I improve or how do I dial in on the patient experience so this person will want to keep returning or want to, when you're in an insurance model, it's very easy to take some of that stuff for granted because it's just, all right, well, I'll do my best, but if I
Yeah.
lose them, I got somebody coming back.
Yeah. Well, here's another way to look at it too, is that especially with the insurance model, like they don't have much of a choice. It's either this or what? You're gonna pay
Yeah.
a lot more, or you're gonna go someplace else out of network. Like, okay, so there's kind of that too. And if someone is a cash, you can't afford to do that. You have to look at every single touch point that you have with a new patient, and really kind of think of it from the perspective of like, how can I wow them? There's a reason why they call it concierge.
Correct.
Right. So when you are having those, like if they do have to wait, that you're checking in and be like, hey, thank you so much for your patience, blah blah blah. Like you're actually treating them like gold.
Yes.
And so every single script that you follow all the way to the end is that you need to make them feel amazing, because they're not confined to an insurance network. They get to pick and choose where their money's going to go. And if they're not wowed and they don't like it and you're not helping them with their goals or their healthcare plan, it's on to the next person. So you really have one shot to make a really great impression. And you're only going to get that is if you outline maybe your customer journey and you're sharp with everything.
Yeah. That's what a lot of practices don't do. What's customer
Why,
journey?
why, why do you think they like don't do it? Is it straight ignorance, negligence? They don't care? Is it they're so used to the insurance
I think
world?
it's just, when we say ignorance, it's not, it's just you don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's not anything that's ingrained. It's not as if nobody's teaching this. There's no schools. The clinics that actually do the best, they usually have the owners who understand that. What you just described, all right, I might go pay, a little bit more at the steak place, but they got a, guy sitting there playing piano. They got this, they got that. Like the service is great,
Yeah,
right?
the
So
steak shipped from Japan, this
yeah, it's like
amazing wagyu.
100%, right? So they have a different way of thinking. And so when people do open up a practice and it's maybe direct, direct pay cash or they call it concierge, like, do you fully understand what concierge actually means, right? I know most people would say, I'm not going to spend $500 on a hotel, maybe, it's like, but then you go there, like, holy shit, like, service is amazing.
Like
It
what an
should be. Yeah. I
experience,
mean,
yeah.
like, and I'll give you a really good example to maybe ram this home is that actually stayed at a hotel like that for my anniversary last year, and the place sucked because the service was garbage. Like, it was,
Motel 6, baby.
yeah, right. It was
No,
like,
I'm just
yeah.
kidding.
So like basically the whole thing was we have this amazing view. It was like Catalina Island. It's like you got this
Oh, yeah.
amazing view of the whole island. I'm like, that's great, but I don't expect to be lugging. It's like I'm lugging my suitcase up the stairs, like 2 flights of stairs by myself. It's just fine. I can handle it. But I'm like, you have some expectations, right? Perceptions, like kind of a thing. You'd ask somebody else to do that, concerning how much we're outlaying here. So and even my wife, she likes to just book more of the aesthetics. But I'm like, let's call it. She was like, yeah, it was shit. I'm like, that's my point. Is like, it's worth it if it's worth it, and to make it worth it, you got to actually understand what are people anticipating.
Here's a yeah, so here's a really good kind of ride on to that is, so especially you going there coming from Vegas. Vegas is there are standards here when it
Yes.
comes to service. And it's just part of living in Vegas is we want people to come to Vegas and come over and over again because that's what really fuels the state's
100%.
economy is here. And if things are rowdy or they're dirty or it's unsafe, that's not going to happen. But whether it's someone's first time in Vegas or someone comes all the time in Vegas, we want to maintain like a high level of standard. And because the thing is like we don't know what their we don't know what their standard is. So if you just maintain a high standard at all times, whether so to you going over there with a standard in place, it's met and you're like, good, I'll totally come back. For someone that may not have it and they just don't know anything, like, wow, I was blown away.
Yeah.
Now this is the standard. And you can take elements of that and put them into your practice or put them into your business. So yeah, maybe people are out of insurance and maybe they did something where now they can go cash for whatever reason. And they're like, man, I used to wait 10, 15 minutes to book an appointment. Our preferred provider was always a dick and I barely got this. And now that I'm here with you, and yeah, I might be shelling out a little bit more, but oh my God, well, money spent.
Yeah.
Money well spent.
And I'll wrap it up on like the Vegas comparison, but it's applicable. Is that
Yeah.
tourism's going down because they're actually doing what's going on in Vegas. Is actually very similar to what's going on with these healthcare practices. Is that they're now catering to the super rich. So
Mm.
they're just saying, let's just have less people, less customers, less clients, but we'll charge them a lot more, and then we'll save money on staff. But then you see people all over social media like Vegas sucks because it's overpriced, which it is becoming very overpriced for a lot of common people. The common person is not making $1 million plus, which is like a majority of people. Like, I can't afford to pay $50 for pasta at the food court. Like, that's a joke. Like, that's what you're saying. So that's what. But to your point, is like when we're talking about how to also phase.
This orange juice was $15.
I mean,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
that's the stuff you're seeing. So like, we love Vegas, but it's just getting way overpriced. So where can we maybe stay off the strip? So you're seeing a lot less people come in, and they don't care. But it's what are you doing to the clients who actually helped establish you, right? So even here in Vegas, where they understand hospitality, I think they're actually kind of missing a big opportunity, and they're kind of like screwing the pooch, so to speak. So that's just one thing to really keep an eye on. I'm gonna really go back to you talked a lot about some marketing, talked a little bit about patient experience. If I'm starting out a practice and going into cash pay, what do you think are some things that I should really hone in on first before I even maybe think about launching?
Yeah, so but before so if you are already in insurance and you're transitioning
Yep.
into cash, I would don't recommend doing a straight switch right away. I wouldn't. I would slowly reduce down your insurance reliance. Um, you see this kind of in with roofing. You see it like with all
Yeah, you
types of
gave me a good
places.
example of that before.
Yeah, yeah. And so going straight cash without maybe stress testing your business is basically suicide. Like you're really gambling on that one. So slowly reduce down your insurance reliance, and then also you want to test demand before kind of fully committing. That's a smart thing to do. Like, if you're talking to your community or like, hey, if I move here, will you make that transition with me? And they could very well have like zero demand. And now you made that switch and people are like, I can't leave my insurance. I'm stuck to it or whatever it is. And then so you want to test it. And then the other thing that you really want to do is you want to kind of still build systems while revenue is still like stable. So what that means in a couple other places is that if you have a practice and you're getting a lot of insurance patients through the door, start building out more of a robust marketing approach, right? Stress testings through there, get some of these things in place. That's really going to help. So when you move away from it, at least they're there and you're not starting from ground zero once you make that switch.
Yeah. I like that. I really love that a lot. It's one of the things where when you have the volume, it can hide a lot of inefficiencies. You don't see it because you just have patients coming in pretty regularly. And
Mhm.
then you pull that away, and it's like, oh crap, like we didn't actually have, or, we weren't efficient with our system at all. Because it's just stuff that gets missed. And we talk about that a lot of things that owners or leaders don't really track. Maybe like patient retention or like how many patients book an appointment, but then an initial appointment and then don't show up. There's not a lot of digging in to find out, all right, what do our numbers actually look like? Because it just, well,
Yeah.
I'm busy, so I don't really actually have time to do that. And quite honestly, it's not the biggest deal in the world because we are so busy. So what's the problem if people don't come in not thinking, all right, I'm spending money on marketing to bring them in, or what happens if they don't finish their treatment plan? What does
Yeah.
that tell me? They don't even
Well,
know.
so what I would say, like if someone is in that spot, maybe get an audit, invest in an audit. And we do audits. So if you guys are watching this, you're like, I have this, and I'm thinking about making that switch, or even like selling a business, you want to do an audit. And what that means is going in there and overturning every single stone.
Yeah.
All right, what's this KPI? What's this metric? What do these numbers look like? What do your finances look like? What's this system? What does this system look like? And so that way we don't necessarily have to stress test everything because we know it's not there.
Yeah.
I don't need to take my Lamborghini and stress test it going on the side of a mountain like a Jeep because I can already see it's not built for that. So we don't need to destroy anything just to
Mm.
stress test. And I think that happens a lot with business. Like you should not do that. So it's the same example there. And so when you're running an audit, you're getting a second set of eyes in going through your business. Like, all right, I'm thinking about going from insurance to cash. What kind of mechanisms or systems do I need to have in place to make that transition successful? And they're able to point out this is non-existent, this is awesome, this kind of sucks, but it could be good.
Yeah.
This we need to eliminate. And then when you make that transition, you know what kind of pieces you need to move. So success is more of a reality. I would suggest getting an audit
Yeah.
instead of just trying to do it yourself. Sometimes that, when you're kind of, it's like a doctor like working on itself or whatever. Like you might need to get someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. You do see a lot of organizations don't really have their processes dialed in, right? So
Yeah.
even
So how would they know?
I
Like
know,
it's like you don't even have it. Yeah.
and even stuff, and this is one I really I mean, I may say at this point, but just used to frustrate the hell out of me. It was just even like follow up, like following up with patients after visits or after procedures, especially. And like we don't do that. Like you don't follow up with somebody. It's like, or hey, it's not the doctor who did the surgery that follows up with you, or it's not the clinician who or doctor who did the initial exam. It's maybe somebody at the front desk. Like, don't you want a personal touch? Like, well, it takes away from time that I could be spending treating patients. So even from the standpoint you have stuff, and you asked me a few minutes ago, is it ignorance on some things that they don't know? It's even that. It's just, well, I haven't been able to provide that kind of care, but now you created a habit, right? It's like my habit is to see the patient and then not follow up with them.
Mhm.
So what do I need to actually realize I need to do better going into this new model? It's like I never called patients. Now I have to call them.
Yeah, and you're seeing some kind of amazing advances in that where you're having someone that so I forgot one of the AIs, and I don't really want to call out any particular AI, but there are ways of
I do it.
it because I can't remember like which ones, but you know the ones where there's a few where you can make a video and then it could say, "Hey, this is Dr. Dan. I saw you," and then it could insert the date
Yeah.
of the surgery and be like, "Hey, just wanted to check up how you were," and they'll SMS the person. So when they get it on their phone, they click the video and it's you talking, but their name is switched out from patient to
Yeah.
patient through AI, and it changes the mouth. So it feels. it's like hard to tell sometimes where it's like, hey, Dr. Dan, this is Dr. Dan here. I we know worked with you a couple weeks ago. Antonio, how you doing? How's everything holding up? Shoot me a text message here and we'll jump on a call if we need to, right? So they're leveraging some of this stuff in other places and also in healthcare where it does feel a little bit more personal when in reality the
Yeah.
doctor can't, but at least it's something better than radio silence versus nothing and the patient feels ghosted.
Yeah.
Yeah, have something like that in place is so much better than nothing.
I will say that the two challenges, because we talked about the older clinician and the younger clinician. On the younger clinician side, you just do see a um, lack of communication skills by Gen Z, uh, the generation. So their
Them
communication
young
style.
bloods,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't know how to talk to
some are
people.
the ones that and
They're great with tech though.
yeah, I
Yeah.
do typically think that the ones that will open up their own practice actually know how to communicate to patients, but that is just a challenge that is across the board. So that's one thing. And then for the older clinician, you do see some of them where they're basically burned out, or they're gassed, they're stressed, they're exhausted, and then they open this new clinic. It's just like, okay, but then they kind of forget. All right, what do I need to now do differently? They're just in not vacation mode, and I've seen it in other industries too. I mean, even in my own family, some people who have like been grinding it out for 20 years, they either sell a business or whatever, and then they're just on almost relaxation mode.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get it, but for how long? And how long before you're gonna let that seep in as your new habit now? So it's just understanding like what do I need to do different? And to your point, what does concierge actually mean?
Mhm. So, when we're kind of looking at communication with somebody and like high level communication where it feels like concierge is that you are anticipating one's needs. So kind of going back to the follow up is like, well, if I put you if for it's so hard to say because someone could have gotten in an accident or they have lifestyle habits that have been consistent for years and then now you work with a doctor like we need to flip those on its head so that I don't know, we don't have bypass surgery, like,
Yeah.
right? So it's natural to want to, or it's not, maybe not, it's natural that it behooves you as a business owner to have follow up in place, which is basically communication.
Yeah.
And so then the next question is, all right, what kind of communication? Is it endearing? Is it understanding? Is it professional? Is there a high level of customer service? Do you make them feel great? So when you're thinking about concierge, concierge is especially here in Vegas, you really are trying to anticipate the needs of the person. When is your next day? Should we book you ahead of time? Are you coming back into like when you come back into the clinic? We can share a couple other things, and you're just making it really easy for them. The scheduling side of things, the communication side of things, the rescheduling side of things. It makes them, the customer, feel like it is easy to work with you and easy to be a part of your world because the communication's at a high level and that feels concierge.
Yeah.
And that also that it's not just communication, but that the organization, the business does a little bit more of the heavy lifting. Let me book that for you. Let me get your bag. Let me carry this out. Let me make that reservation for you, sir. Like, let me do this. I'll take care of
Yep.
it. Right. That feels like it's way more hands off and now the person can just be themselves and to go in where everything is just taken care of.
Yeah, I'll give you a good example of that would be the end of this practice where we had that mentality. I mean, my mentor said like we're gonna be concierge. That's the Ritz Carlton, and so we write them a script for me for an X-ray or an MRI. Most pretty much 99% of practices are gonna say, "Here's Antonio, here's your script. Call us when you get it done, or whatever." Right? For us, it was no, we're gonna walk the patient up, and then we're gonna have the front desk actually call the imaging center and get them booked right then and there. And
Mm.
pretty much every single patient was like, "This has never happened before. Like nobody ever does this. I have to do it for myself." And it was just like those tiny. I know some people, again, some people are gonna listen like, "Holy shit, how much time does that take? Don't they have other?" But it's just, what are you actually trying to do for the patient? Is the real question,
Mhm.
right? So they would do that, always blow them away. What do you think that's gonna do to the patient mentality? They're gonna want to come back, right? They can say that's the kind of level of care you're giving me just for an X-ray or an MRI. Like,
Well, yeah, and it's not always them coming back, but it's them talking about their experience,
yes,
doing a testimonial or a survey or a review on Yelp or Google or even telling friends and family or anything like that. That actually really helps because what that does is helps reduce even marketing spend because you have these people that are coming through your doors and they're walking out sharing the message or sharing their experience
exactly.
and that is um if you can click in on that and you lock that in with your business and you're making everyone, I know I said this a couple times, a raving fan, you don't have to go super hard in the paint with your marketing because that mechanism is working
True.
so well and they're bringing people in. So, yeah, so it's not just wowing them for the sake of that, but it's also strategic from a marketing perspective just by treating them well.
Yeah. I think I would also add, going even into, so we're talking how to maybe transition, from your regular practice. Maybe you want to create a hybrid model, just go all cash. It's also this matter too, outside of just having the right systems and the right training and leadership, it's also how do you communicate the shift to your employees, right? Why are we doing this? How do you then also communicate that shift to patients, right? Because the patients say, I've been coming here for 20 years. Why are you screwing me over? Or why do I need to pay more now? Right. So it's just also making sure that, all right, are we actually explaining to people why what the purpose of what we're doing is? That's one thing to definitely not overlook.
What are some examples to you of like if someone is saying, "Hey, we're making this change. We're
Yeah.
making this transition from insurance to cash. We're making this transition." And what are some of like the top reasons like why people are changing over from the business's perspective to the market?
Oh, from if I'm a patient, I don't really. So patients don't really fully understand. I think most of the time, especially as it relates to healthcare, they're gonna usually assume that's about money. It's all right. I've seen what my insurance pays you, and so I've had patients actually come in like, "What the fuck is this? Like, this is what they paid you for
Mhm.
everything that you do for me." So, those kind of patients, I think they would just fully understand. Like, all right, makes sense. You're going for money. Other people would look at it like, "Oh, you're going for money." So there's just always that's kind of the same point. They don't really understand this is why I really talk, and we've talked about to doctors about getting more on social media to explain some of the behind scenes stuff. So that way patients would understand this. They don't know how many hours you're working, how many patients you're seeing, how many notes you're doing, how many phone calls you have to take with insurance. They don't know any of that. So they just see what's on the surface, which it's got to be about the money. So that's why it's really important to help them understand like this is all the stuff that's going on is making it more challenging to deliver the kind of care I want to keep doing. And they're not stupid. Patients do see, especially if they've been coming in for a long time. They can see when changes have happened. It's just, all right, like you guys are busier now, or you don't spend as much time with me. So they're not completely in the dark. So really the biggest aspect of that is just fully explaining if you have a good reason for it, which most people, like I said, when they're transitioning, they have a very good reason for making the transition. Patients fully understand it. It's just whether or not you can actually sit down and articulate that to them so they know and they can give you a fair shot of, all right,
So
I can
yeah,
come back in.
so an example of that would be like if they're communicating with their patients, hey, we're making this transition because um, us as a business or us as a practice, it is getting to the point where it's just way more conveyor belt, and I want to spend more time with you. With what we're seeing now, um, we're tracking that get about 90 seconds, and I believe that you deserve way more than that. So I want to have more one-on-one time with you, so like we can figure out exactly what's going on, help out with your treatment plan, and it's also easier for the staff, and then this, and then also insurance is kind of all over the place, and that provides us a little bit more stability, so that we can provide you with more stability. So is it
Yeah.
basically that?
So I'll give you a good example. So there's this chiropractor in town. Now he went to a lot of cash, but because he got bought out for private equity, which obviously he regrets. But he goes,
We'll get into that
yeah.
some other time on
But he
on private
goes,
equity.
yeah. But he goes, yeah. They basically cut out every insurance that we take. So, and that was his frustration. Like now I have people that have been treating for 15 years, and I have to explain to them that we don't take their insurance. And that's the kind of conversation is like, how do you actually explain that? Because there's no way around it. There's no way you can say, well, it's to provide better care in that sense. Like, we just don't take your insurance because it sucks anymore.
Mhm.
Right. So that's why I'm like, when the conversation needs to have, it has to be very tactical. And, because you do see that even in healthcare where people say, we have to stop taking this insurance because it does pay us really nothing. I can't do what I want to do with you for $15. That's a joke. You're getting personal trainers making more than doctors and chiropractors and physical therapists. So you have to, like you said, be tactical about it. Like this is the whole point of what I'm trying to do is to actually provide you better care,
Mhm.
right? And it's no different than I've had those conversations with patients about coming in at a different time during the day. It's I swear to God, every patient wants to come in first thing in the morning, even if they're retired and they do jack shit at home except watch TV. Like I want to be 9:30 right when you're busy as shit. It's like, all right. But this is the ramification of you doing that versus if you come 3 hours later when literally we have two people in the clinic I could spend way more time with you, way more okay, that makes sense.
Mhm,
So the rationale makes sense, but you got to explain that. Patients are not mind readers.
mhm.
So the other thing too, again, like, and we talked about this with regards to employees, is how do you actually have those kind of conversations with employees too, in terms of not just the training and the communication of why we're making this shift, but everything you talked about with the concierge. All right, do they know how to actually do that? Do they know how to talk to a patient in that kind of fashion? Do they know how to follow up and really give a lot of TLC? Because unfortunately, in healthcare, it should be the most empathetic field going. We're not that good at it, so do they understand what that actually looks like?
I think that's like the one of the most important reasons why people should have an audit is because when you're kind of testing yourself, it's like kind of tasting your own food
Yes.
sometimes when you're cooking. You're like, oh, you because you're in it, you're like, I can kind of tolerate it more. But if you give it to someone else, like they're going to give you a far more accurate response or review of your food.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so I really do believe that this is where you want to get an audit because they can go through your customer journey and your team is none the wiser. They don't know.
Yeah.
And so, and you're also able to extract a request from the business, like, what's the script here? What's this here? What's this here? And you're either going to find that they have something and it's great, they have something and it's not that good, or they don't have anything at all. And then from there, we build out essentially like a heat map of when your customers or when your patients go through you, these are some key things that are missing that can really destroy your business. Or and by destroy, I mean like it's not profitable. You're
Mhm.
basically sputtering along.
Yeah.
So doing it yourself is totally possible, but it's like checking your own form when you're at the gym versus having a professional trainer that has a degree in this, has so many reps to actually check your form because that can make it takes one thing for you to blow out like a knee or a shoulder.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's honestly, it's cool, it is, man. Most people are not fully honest with themselves. So you're like, oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
I did
yeah.
my audit.
Such a bias.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything looks great. Like, who did the audit? Me. It's like,
And I would say this is 100% of the time. Like for every single this is not like, oh, you have some people that are rather objective. Like, no, I'd say 100% of all of the business owners that I've personally worked with, there is a bias towards the business. They think they're further along than what they actually are. It's not as bad. It is rare to get someone that is truly objective,
yeah,
and even then, there's still a lot of elements that are kind of overinflated or they're not super truthful. And I think there's a little bit of an embarrassment thing where they just don't. It's
100%.
it's
Yeah, nobody wants to
embarrassing.
admit that. Yeah,
Yeah, but so it's 100% of the time. It's 100% of the time where they're not truly
and
objective.
to be fair, even if they are right, because I know somebody might be saying, "Well, I'm objective." I know, but
Sure, you are. Yeah,
they
yeah,
might be, but you also can't see everything, right? You
yeah.
can't identify your own patterns. I had a business coach, and I love this line, but I said to him, like, how come I can see shit so clear in other people, like their patterns and this and that, and then I can't really see my own. He's like, bro, he's like, you gotta think of yourself like a ketchup bottle. It's like you can't see the label on the outside of the bottle. I'm like, all right, fair point. It's like, so you can't always see what you're
Yeah,
doing.
write that down, everybody.
Yeah,
You
it's
take
like,
that. Are you on the inside or outside of that
but it's
ketchup
the
bottle?
truth, right? So it's like you're in the middle of it. You can't always see what's going on. So even if you say I'm confident, I'm very honest with myself. Somebody else could still see stuff that you're not seeing.
Mhm.
So I think really when we're looking at, all right, got my marketing, got my systems, got all this stuff in place, leadership, the communication aspect of it, it's really understanding too. Then it's, what does my training look like? Not just when we're making this transition or not when I'm just maybe opening my practice. What does training look like ongoing? Again, talk about hospitality a lot. They don't just train you once. They train you over like nonstop to make sure there's no regression, right? Because people do human nature. We look for shortcuts, yeah, we're trying to do it on purpose all the time, but we're just a lot of time, how to make this easier, and easier usually means a
Yeah.
crappier experience for the patient.
Yeah, especially in those industries, there's a secret shopper.
Yes.
That they're retail. You're getting into retail. You're getting in hospitality. You get it. There's a ton of places where you have a secret shopper, where they can go in and you're like, hey, just going through here and do like a minor checkup or go check out this restaurant. And they are line by line. They have a criteria. And they're like, they didn't greet me here. They didn't do this. The waiter
Yeah.
gave me attitude. Whatever. And so um, I like saying this, that there's always areas of your business that you're not aware of that's holding you back. And that the key thing is that just you're not aware of it. There's gaps. And if we identify those gaps and we're being honest with ourselves, that can make a world of a difference with your business.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, man, I don't got much left. I think as we kind of put a button on this, I think for me, the one thing I would just advocate is having a cash pay practice. Great idea, amazing for patient care, can be a lifeline for a lot of practitioners. Um, can be a well run business that carries you for the long term, but it also doesn't create a better business. It demands that you build one out. So that's the one thing I would actually leave people off. And I know you had mentioned multiple times, which I definitely appreciate. Is honestly, if you guys are out there, and just maybe you're on the fence, like I'd like to transition, or maybe I'm not burned out just yet, but I want to bring in some cash pay services. It's like, how do I do that, or how do I make a full transition? To Antonio's point, just connect with us. Book a call. Let us help you identify what you maybe can't see, and actually help you build out some systems, and really just make it as easy as possible for you.
As easy as possible. Let's
Anything
go.
want? You good? All right, guys. Appreciate it. Catch you next time.